So today's job, fitting a booster gauge, one of these, to an early shape UK Ford Ranger. What we're going to need, booster gauge obviously, some T-piece adapter type things for the hose, some boiling hot water, or as hot as you can get it outdoors. It is February and snowing at the minute, so it's not going to be boiling. Some cutters, knife, cable ties, pry bar, and a drill with a drill bit about the same size as your hose, which is this stuff, poly pipe. It will probably come with your gauge, but you'll need more. Right, the pipe that we're going to attach our boost gauge to is this pipe that runs between the front of the inlet and the top of the fuel pump. It actually adjusts the on boost fueling. I don't like using the pipe that's running between the turbo compressor housing and the actuator. I don't think it gives the most accurate reading. You want to know what boost you're getting at the inlet manifold, and this comes directly off the inlet manifold. So what we're going to do is, first up, this poly pipe, we're going to throw it nose in into the glass of hot water. Second up, we'll get the cutters, and a little way down here, well, halfway down, just going to give it a snip. Try and do it as square as possible. Really try not to cut your fingers. I should probably use some better cutters, but they were the first pair that came to hand, and my workshop is a mess. So just finish running it through the knife. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to get a T-piece for the pipe. This is slightly larger than needs be. I don't think it's going to fit in the original pipe. Oh, maybe it is. So we'll fight that into the original pipe. So it's in that one. A bit more wrestling to get it into that one. Get it all the way home. It's important to have a really nice tight fit so that you know you're going to get no leaks. I'm going to take my gloves off to do the next bit. Now that this has been sitting in the hot water for a couple of minutes, it's really soft, and a bit of a sort of push and twist motion. And with a bit of a wiggle, you can get it to go over, and again you should be able to get it to go all the way home like that. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to get the cable ties out, and we're just going to cable tie it around the engine bay to keep it out of harm's way. So I reckon don't want to cable tie it to that, because that's the EGR pipe and that'll get really hot. So what I'm going to do is cable tie it round fuel pipes to start with. Pull nice and well out of the way. And the next bit we're going to cable tie it nice and far out of the way, so I try not to get my head in camera shot too much. That can run underneath there for the sake of neatness. Cable tie it round this pipe joiner here that's operating the locking freewheel system. Leave that out of the way for a minute. What we're going to do next is to run it inside the car. It's this plastic cover down here. we're going to give that a drill. 6mm drill bit, which is about the size of the outside of this pipe. I've already checked behind it, found the back. I know that there's nothing that I can damage. Because it's a rubbery plastic, it is an absolute pain in the backside to get the pipe through, because it shrinks back down again. That's what you want, because it will give you a nice watertight seal for the car. I've had the stereo out, we're now back inside the car. I've also taken out the vent here, as mine was broken anyway, so I've just sort of popped it out with a screwdriver and a pry bar. I've removed all the sort of flappy bits, cut the slats, and then secured the gauge inside with the metal band. I've secured it at a bit of an angle, I don't know if you can see it sticking out like that, so it'll face towards me a bit. Back inside there you won't be able to see it because it's just far too dark, but I've drilled a 10mm hole that I've run the hose through and the wires. These wires come down to here, and the hose very nicely runs down and into the footwell. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's down in the footwell. It's coming out just there by the nice cup of boiling water. As for wiring, I've put a bit of an extension wire onto the stereo wiring harness. This is so that I can use some crimp-on connectors to join the gauge on, so if I ever want to remove the gauge it will just make it a little bit easier. The black wire, as I always run black, is joined onto the brown wire. This brown wire is completely separate to everything and is the stereo earth. Then on this grey stereo wiring harness, there's the brown wire that goes to the black. The second wire in, this grey and yellow, or yellow with a grey stripe, that's the illumination wire as a standard stereo. It's only live when you've got the headlights on, so I've run the red wire off of this, and that will mean that the gauge lights up when you turn your headlights on, but not any other time. It's actually not used on aftermarket stereos. As you can see, there's a blank hole there, it's the second wire there, and it's that one. The other wires here are this yellow and white one, which is the one that's live when you turn the ignition on, and this red one that's the full-time live. What we're going to do next is I'm going to pop this gauge and its vent back inside the dash, hopefully. I'm sure that's going to put up a fight. Switch this off. So we'll get that back inside the dash, and then we'll stick the hose back in the water and join it up. As you can see here, because the gauge is cheap, it underreads. It's sitting at sort of 5 inches of vacuum, and that's with the engine off, so that's completely wrong. Sadly there's no adjustment on it being a cheap gauge, so I can't just knock the needle round by sort of, well, what's probably 2 psi. I had to take the gauge off the vent itself to be able to get it in. The way it fits in and out, it sadly won't go in with the gauge in the vent. What I've done is I've just super glued it on, nice and easy. Up there you'll see it's done the old hot water trick, and a new joiner to join the hose from the gauge to the hose from the engine, and that's it, ready to rock and roll. Right, we're in the Ranger, the engine's running. As you can see, the gauge is fluttering. This is because I've used the T-piece that doesn't have a restrictor in. If you use a restrictor on a diesel, because they make so much boost so quickly, it won't read accurately. So I'll coat with a flutter, just to show it being revved. You hold it at 1000, pretty much stops the flutter. Hold it at 2 and it starts coming on boost. I will point out, because I've got a cheap gauge, it massively underreads, and it's reading at sort of 5 inches of vacuum at the minute, and it won't be making any vacuum at all when it's a diesel. psi, just sitting still. So let's go for a drive. Not to put down. Gauge runs nicely. Just sets and holds what it's saying is 10 psi. 10 psi with how much it's under reading start. It's probably about 12. So it's good for standard.